Let's take a look at that. It says, woo, a lot of writing here. Reading. A ballroom rents for $1,500 for 3 hours and $125 per additional half hour. If you have $2,125 for the rental, what is the maximum amount of time to rent the space? Wow. Okay, let's go with that again. Ballroom renting for $1,500 for 3 hours. That's already spent, okay? Now we're going to look at $125 per additional half hour. That's interesting, isn't it? If you have, what is it, $2,125 for the rental, what's the maximum amount of time you can rent the space? That would be 3 hours plus whatever else you're going to be able to rent. Hopefully it's a good bit of time. Let's see how this is going to stack up. Actually, you might get a lot of good time out of this thing. But let's see what's happening. It's always a good start. We're starting with $1,500 for 3 hours worth of rental. Okay, so that's a fact. That's a fact. They paid $500 for the first 3 hours, basically each hour. All right, or just a lump $1,500 for those 3 hours. Now comes the rest of it. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at this $125 per half hour. Now what you say, Ernie, what does that mean? Well, that means to me you're doing $300 for each additional hour, but they're going to bill you by half hours, all right? So what we've got to figure out is how much money's left over here we can work into this problem. So let's take a look at this and see if we can set this up. First of all, time. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with our missing value. We're going to call X the missing amount, and it's going to be the number of half-hour periods, okay? Because I'm not sure this is going to come out to a nice even 2, 3, 4 hours. It may have a half on it, okay? So let's take a look. So the number of half hours you're going to have to rent. And of course that's at $125 each. So let's put this thing together. We're going to pick up 125 times those additional half hours, right? Then we are going to add what we're already paying, $1,500. All right, $1,500, there we go. And let's see, we're going to end up with how much it looks like? Looks like we're going to end up with $2,125. So that's your start. Now let's go back and understand what this is. This is that additional time. This is what you're going to pay flat rate no matter what. Those 3 hours are done. And your total you have to spend is $2,125. So what we're going to do is figure out how many half hours. And then we can figure out what's the maximum time when it all boils down to. What are you going to be able to rent that space? How much time for the amount of money you have, which is $2,125. Organize it. Just put it in order. But see what you're looking for. We're going to look for half-hour periods, all right? How many of those we need. So let's kick it around here. We want to remove $1,500. We want to remove $125. Let's take care of $1,500 first. So we'll subtract our $1,500 right off the bat. And we're going to subtract it right over here also. And it looks like we've got 125 times this value, X. Over here, I'm counting up 625. All right, just subtracting out. It's pretty easy, isn't it? Because $1,500 doesn't make us have to sweat too hard on this. 5 comes straight down, the 2 comes straight down, and then 21 minus 15, you got 6. Now, some of you get all nervous about the division here. Notice we have 5s on both of them, so I'm hoping these are going to go in there evenly. Let's go to the trusty calculator and see what we're going to get, all right? Trusty as long as I put the numbers in there, right? Okay, so let's see. We've got 625. Everybody see 625? I see it. Divide it by 125. And I am picking up 5, which is good because I was hoping to come out nice and even. So here we are. We're back to 5. X equals 5. Now, remember, folks, what did we say that X was going to equal? Not the number of hours, but what? Half hours. So this means we have 5 1/2 hours. Which those of you are going like, oh, we know what that does. Yeah, that's going to give us 2.5 hours or 2.5, however you want to look at it, all right? So that actually is what we have total for the additional cost. We'll call it 2.5 hours extra we can afford. Plus, we have the 3 hours already, so 3 plus 2.5. Wow. 5.5 hours we can afford to rent this space. For whatever party's going on or whatever we're doing, that's what we have with $2,125 set aside for our rent. That is what we can afford, and that's where we go. Now, let me tell you something. Let's suppose that had not, for some reason, come out even because maybe we had just $2,100, all right? And they're charging you by the half hour. I guarantee you, you would only be able to use it for 2 hours because they're not going to give you probably 15 extra minutes to pay me a little of this. They're ready to say, hey, either you pay for it or you don't, all right? So typically, that's kind of the way they work in the business world. You don't get rounded up. You just get cut off, all right? If you can't pay it, you don't get to play, all right? There you go, 5.5 hours. Good problem of the day. Good way to get us started.